Hey everyone, Internet Vicious Book Reader here. Today I want to give you my top 10 books from the piles of books that I read this year. And before we get into the list, I want to thank people for giving the chance to watch my video at all. English is not my first language and I'm nowhere near academia level with my high school degree. So thank you for even giving my channel a chance at all. It means a lot. Somehow I'm busier this year than last year and read more books than last year. Last year in total I read 207 books and this year I read 256 books. About 10% of those are comic and manga, but hey, I'm also reading some books that can be used as blunt weapon, so I'm putting them on my list. And again, from the few books that I read this year, it really feels more and more like some of the most highly marketed books are just generic advice marketed as productive use of your time. And when we got bored of reading them, obviously, it is somehow our fault and not writer's fault. Which is such a shame because I feel like books like this are what makes most adults that are still traumatized by school just abandon reading altogether. But I think it's such a waste just to give up on reading because of that, since there are benefits that generic advice cannot give, and some of the best story you can experience is still in books format. I know that reading is a difficult habit to pick up. I mean, it wasn't even useful for vanity purpose since it's not showing from the outside like exercise, and it is time consuming with more attention span needed, but the payoff is worth it. So hopefully this list can give you some ideas into what to read if you want to give it a try. But before that, a quick shout out to Nightcrawling, Mouse, March Comes In Like a Lion, In the Dream House, and Slam Dunk. They're really good and I think all of them deserve more attention. Even series like Slam Dunk that already has its dedicated fan base who I'm sure will see me not putting it on the top 10 as blasphemous. But hey, it's my list, and since this is after all a top 10 list from 256 books, I have to be more cutthroat in selecting about 5% of the books that I read to be on this list. As per my first video on this, I'll give a quote for books that I can give quote just to give a taste on the writing style, and for those that need pictures, I guess I'll try to add 1 or 2 pictures that do the equivalent of the quote. With that said, here's my top 10 list for 2023. Number 10 is Chaos Machine by Max Fisher. Chaos Machine starts the list. It's a well-written history of social media with information that will become more and more important, especially once the last generation that still remember life before social media are gone. It's one of those books that I think will be more useful to help people navigate the internet the more the book ages. Remember that the number of seconds in your day never changes. The amount of social media content competing for those seconds, however, doubles every year or so, depending on how you measure it. Imagine for instance that your network produces 200 posts a day of which you have time to read about 100. Because of the platform still, you will see the most outraged half of your feed. Next year, when 200 double to 400, you will see the most outraged quarter. The year after that, the most outraged 8. Over time, your impression of your own community becomes radically more moralizing, aggrandizing, and outraged. And so do you. At the same time, less innately engaging forms of content. Truth appeals to the greater good, appeals to tolerance, become more and more outmatched, like stars over Times Square. Number 9 is We Measure the Earth with Our Bodies by Sharing Yangzom Lama. This is such a beautiful generational story that uses one of those storytelling that alternates between the past and the present really well. One of the best human storytelling this year, and a rare look into Tibet's rich and forgotten culture and its people that is not told in media, since it's the story of regular people that don't involve the very mainstream Dalai Lama. So it's a side that your favorite React streamer will never see unless their sources are not just internet articles. If you want to learn more about Tibet that is not from the top percentage of their people, this is a great start and it is a beautiful story. I think about the story of the blind sea turtle. Imagine the whole world is covered in water. In that water, there is a circular wooden yoke. There is also a blind sea turtle swimming alone. Once every 100 years, the sea turtle pokes his head out of the water, hoping to come out in the center of that yoke. Such is the rarity of a human birth. The preciousness of this form. Do they still teach the story today? Is it not a cruel lesson to say that life, even an unhappy one, is an implausible fluke we must cherish? Blind sea turtles we are. Number 8 is Home Fire by Kamila Samshi. During my review of the book, I used Romeo and Juliet as comparison, which is still fitting, but somehow it didn't cross my mind until later on that it is also an adaptation of Antigone, especially the end part of the book. Antigone is one of the earliest, if not the first fiction where the female main lead is the hero of the story, not just the protagonist, but a hero. Which I think the book did a great job in a modern world where the daughter of a Muslim extremist got involved in a tragic romance with the son of a Muslim politician. Grief was what you owed the dead for the necessary crime of living on without them. And for number 7 is Regenesis by George Monbiot. This is one of those books that surprised me with how well written it is. It's one of the books that I bought only because it's on a discount list and I just saw a Bismart video on cell-generated meat. So I thought I can learn more about it based on the cover. The book is not about cell-generated meat, unfortunately. It's more about the soil where we got our food from. It is so well researched and so well written that I learned an amazing amount of things from this book and still enjoy the process of reading it. This is a great book to read if you want to know more about climate change and our soil. Our loyalties are to the aesthetic, not the evidence. We are seduced by the way things look and overlook the way they function. But beauty is seldom truth and truth is seldom beauty. Number 6 is A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. I know it's probably one of the most vanilla choice in this list for a lot of people, and it is indeed a small part of a bigger series, but this single volume is quite possibly the best medieval political fantasy that I don't think it's possible for it to be nowhere on this list after I read it during the year. There are so much gear moving in the story and none of them lose any connection with each other at any part, with some of the best payoff ever written in a fiction. It's a masterclass on creating a big scene using smaller parts that are sprinkled here and there. Most of the famous scene from the show that people still talks about reminiscing on times when the show is still good is from this single volume. And still the book offers more than what the show gives when the show is still good. It's still worth a read even if you've watched the show. The greatest fools are oftentimes more clever than the men who laugh at them. And number 5 is Panenka by Ronan Hession. This is such a well-written story about a football player who in his youth failed a penalty kick during a match by using a skill that is the title of the book, Panenka, where you kick the ball right in the middle of the goal. Because of that one failure, he was shunned from the place he lived, become estranged from his own family, and even lose his name. He is now known only from the act that caused him to lose everything, Panenka. It is not only a great story about redemption and self-acceptance, but it is also a great portrayal of Stoicism done wrong and Stoicism done right, which I think is a great timing since Stoicism is starting to become more popular lately. It is a story that will age like fine wine if done right, and Panenka done it masterfully. The ending is very on your nose, but I would be lying if I say I did not put a smile on my face. For so long I was afraid to stay close to anybody because I had so much anger and confusion inside me. I knew that I couldn't let anyone into my life until all that had passed. The problem I could never solve was how to relate to people in the meantime. Other people's love is frightening when you're suffering. It's overwhelming. When you're consumed with the effort of processing internal pain, it becomes impossible to do anything else. It's like holding your breath underwater. You realize that you need to breathe, but if you breathe at the wrong time, you drown. I only survived thanks to the people in my life, people I repaid by letting them down. And number 4 is Babel by R.F. Kuang. Babel is one of the best classical biblical story about the man's arrogance. I'm an agnostic and even I can see the point of the story and recognize this megalomania classic. R.F. Kuang's version of Babel is a story set in an alternate world where magic is real. The main character lost his family and his home and is taken to the Great Britain to study magic so he can get into the Tower of Babel and found himself deep into a conspiracy. So much of the book mirrors events in our life in a way that is subtle and also very on your nose at the same time, which can make you roll your eyes in exaggeration if not done right, but the author did a really great job here. It has one of the most fun magic systems I read involving the process of translating. It's a coming of age story about friendship, betrayal, and magic. But it's also a story about identity and culture and what it means when you are faced with hard choices that affected you so deeply and so personally. That's just what translation is, I think. That's all speaking is. Listening to the other and trying to see past your own biases to glimpse what they're trying to say. Showing yourself to the world and hoping someone else understands. Number 3 is Mob Psycho 100 by 1. I mentioned this in my review of the book that this is quite possibly the best anime of the decade, and the more the series is cooking in my head, the more I stand by that statement. It's a very compelling coming of age story, but packaged in this very creative world building where psychic and spirit not only exist but also having an intense battle in the background. There's a cult forming in the background, a giant broccoli taking over the city, And during all of that, a touching story about a human connection and about a boy who is trying to grow up to be a good person is at the center of the story. I leave you with these two pictures. And then number 2 is House of Leaf by Mark Danielewski. Horror is one of those genres that is quite possibly the worst if we measure them pound per pound with other genres. He had some of the most miserably bad representation of it in media. It is associated mostly with stupid jump scares, stupid people, and stupid plot. It doesn't help that people who don't believe in superstition like to make fun of who got scared by fake ghosts while doing the Kamehameha pose. But when the genre hits, it hits in a way that other genres just cannot hit. And House of Leaf definitely hits. It is not just one of the most unique of its genre, but it's also one of the most unique books ever. An infamous Lovecraftian infinite hallway one day appears in the night fiction house, the hallway twists and turns, and it affected the book as much as it affected the house. It feels like the horror contained in this fictional story is reaching out to our world and if not only affect the characters in the book, but also affect us the reader. House of Leaf gives you dread and paranoia in ways that no other book I read this year gave, not even Junji Ito's Uzumaki. This much I'm certain of it. It doesn't happen immediately. You'll finish the book, and that will be that, until a moment will come, maybe in a month, maybe a year, maybe even several years. You'll be sick or feeling troubled or deeply in love or quietly uncertain or even content for the first time in your life. It won't matter. Out of the blue, beyond any cause you can trace, you'll suddenly realize things are not how you perceive them to be at all. For some reason, you will no longer be the person you believe you once were. You detect slow and subtle shift going on all around you. More importantly, shift in you. Worse, you realize it always been shifting, like a shimmer of sort, a fast shimmer, only dark like a room. But you won't understand why or how. You have forgotten what granted you this awareness in the first place. And finally, number 1 is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Coming back to coming of age, Demon Copperhead follows the story of a boy coming of age in a broken family and a broken world. We'll follow him literally from his birth, where he had to push his way out of the womb, to his early adult life. But the story never felt like it's too long at any point of the book, and we see him go through so many hardships, but it never felt like the author is trying to speedrun him going through misfortunes. There was never a point where it felt like all hope is lost, despite how bad the situation got. And it's all thanks to the writing of the titular character Demon. Demon broke down many times, naive in his youth, trusts the wrong person at times, reckless when he shouldn't. He is a boy that is inexperienced by default, and he makes a lot of mistakes due to it. The book lays down all his weaknesses and insecurities to us, that it can be tough to read at times. But it never got to any point like A Little Life where the author is trying to make the story as painful as possible. We never lose hope in the story despite everything because we never lose hope in Demon. It is one of the most beautiful and most human story I read this year, set in the beautiful Appalachia. It's not something to fix, he said. It means strong, outside of all expectation. I look at him, he looked at me. His hands were on his desk with a finger touching a tiny cake with air inside. Black hands, the knuckles almost blue black, silver wedding ring. He said, "You know, sometimes you hear about these miracles, where a car gets completely mangled in a wreck, but then the driver walks out of it alive. I'm saying you are that driver. I'm saying you are that driver." And that's the list. Again, thank you everyone for watching any of my video, it means a lot. It is very scuffed video I know, but hopefully from this list you get something you want to try. And as usual, did I miss anything? Leave your talk in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.